Hey there, fans of the Survivor Super Fun Time Show. This is Kevin, and today we're doing the Survivor 46 Episode 4 recap episode. And before we get started on the actual recap itself, I want to give you a quick second to say, hey, if you want to be part of the community, remember to hit the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. It really helps the channel out. Any kind of interaction you do, if you have a thumbs up, if you have comments down below about how much you hate me, or you love the content we're talking about, or you have a particular guest that you want to hear from, please let me know down below in the comment section and subscribe, and it'll really help out the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it, my friends. Now, getting on to the episode itself. Not to bury the lead too much, but this episode was the end of Bhanu. The end of Bhanu has been a long time coming. As much as I like Bhanu the person, I can't say this enough. I'm going to say it probably multiple times because I'm going to criticize Bhanu's game throughout this whole recap. As much as I love Bhanu, Bhanu, very arguably, has the worst strategic background in the history of the game. Maybe in the history of the game. Because in his final moments, in really the last couple episodes, it seemed like his throwback is, please help me. And that's it. That's really not much you really have going for you other than please help me. And not just from the players, from God. Now, there have been players that I'm sure that have sworn to God saying, please help me. But it's very rare you've ever seen a player drop to their knees in front of another player when it was already decided, saying, please help me so much. And the player has to say, get up off your knees. And they're like, no, I'm not getting up off my knees. It was so funny. And I have to say, like, Bhanu, I think a really wonderful person, and I think really entertaining. You know, I think there's so much personality inside that little body, and I think he really let it out as much as he could. I mean, episode 1, it seemed like it was going to be on a totally different trajectory for Bhanu when he was like feeding Jelinski in that one little clip. He looked super normal as a player, and Jelinski was the one that looked like maybe he wasn't cut out for it. In hindsight, Jelinski is probably the best of the 3 last Yanu people to go. But beside the point, this past episode, it's just everything that could go wrong went wrong for Bhanu. I mean, he started off the episode by getting the reprieve of a lifetime by Randon being pulled from the game from Nami. So Bhanu actually got to stick around, even though I guess maybe Q could have pulled something off and voted out Kenzie. I don't really think that would have happened, but that could have been the case, right? And instead, he takes this opportunity and immediately gets himself out of the game. He says, oh, by the way, when I went on the journey, I actually told them all that Kenzie's the mastermind and that you and Q are really tight. And Tiffany's face was like, and Q's looking in the background like, what did this man just say? And it's amazing. I don't know how someone can tank their game so badly. It was completely their fault. Because he ended that by saying, did I do a bad thing? Yes, you did a bad thing, Bhanu. Yes, you did a bad thing. Absolutely. Now, the good thing is they won a reward challenge, and you're like, okay, Yanu, this is looking up, all right? Maybe they're going to go ahead and they're going to win, which, by the way, they won 10 fish, but they couldn't even enjoy the 10 fish because they don't have fire. So they couldn't even cook them. As a Survivor fan, is it unreasonable for me to expect players to be able to make fire without Flint? Because I've seen it done. I've seen it done a bunch of times. Has Yanu done it at some point and we don't know it? Because I have a feeling that like Jeff Probst and the producers and stuff, they don't want the audience to know that these tribes are trying to make fire without Flint. Back in the day, I think that was more interesting. But with the new era where they're trying to balance out 39 days versus 26, the absence of Flint is supposed to be really felt and really impactful. So in my mind, even if these tribes have gotten fire without Flint, they're never going to show it to us because they want us to think they're suffering really bad, which I think they are, to the point where they didn't even choose the fish. They chose to get a tarp and stuff like that. But for the OGs out there, like, let me know, like, how hard is it to make fire without Flint? Obviously it's harder, but like, really, is it impossible like they portray it? I don't know. Anyway, they win the reward challenge, so, you know, good on Yanu. You're like, maybe this brings some good winning vibes. But they get to the immunity challenge later on in the episode, and of course, Bhanu looks like he's the one who totally just knocked him down. Like, he did the wrong thing in trying to get up on the platform and jump off, and he set the Yanu tribe back to the point where they had no chance of beating Hunter or Tim in kind of a shooting basket competition, even though Q was, you know, doing pretty well, right? But it's sometimes, you know, if you just are that far behind, you can't really get ahead. And that's what happened. They lost, they went back to the camp, and it was clearly going to be a wrap. Bhanu was going to be out of the game. They showed a confessional from Kenzie, Q, and Tiffany and said, listen, this man has to go because, frankly, their games were tanked. And it was right. They did. The only thing Bhanu spent the rest of the episode doing was searching for an idol, which he was never going to find. Tiffany has it. And I swear to God, if they had put a second idol in the game in that moment and gave it to Bhanu, I would have been marching towards CBS headquarters and said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Thankfully, that wasn't the case, and really just turned into Bhanu begging. And there's really no reason why all three of those players, Kenzie, Q, or Tiff, should have even considered keeping Bhanu in the game anymore. He's not a guy you can trust. I mean, like Kenzie said, if you want to have adventure, go camping. Or if you want to win 1,000,000 hearts, you should go volunteer. And that's really what it kind of came down to with Bhanu, who, of course, left the game by the end of the episode. It's just, I don't know what you can do for a player like that on your tribe. Like, the immense amount of patience that was displayed in that situation is really, really fascinating. I mean, from a strategic standpoint, if the bar is really low, even if you did the Rudy Boss strategy of, I shook their hand, we said we're in it together, and that's it. We're in it together. Bhanu didn't even do that. The person who probably would have done that with him was Kenzie. But he just, like, every time Kenzie did something nice for him, he would, like, spit in her face and say, like, oh, she's two-faced. And it's kind of fascinating. You know, Kenzie was playing the game, no doubt, but she was also giving him an out, and he just could not recognize it. Not at all. Instead, he said she is the most manipulative person in the game. He might as well have adopted Sean Kenneth's alphabet strategy. He would have been better off if he didn't even think and just said, I have the alphabet strategy. And what's funny is when you think about this, and I'm not trying to dogpile on Bhanu too much, because I love Bhanu as a person. He's great. He's also selling merch on his Instagram account where he's trying to raise money to help people. He said he wants to win 1,000,000 hearts, and part of the way he's going to do that is by donating money to charity. So please go to his Instagram bio and purchase some cool stuff to help him do that. But from a strategic standpoint, it's funny because you compare 45 to 46. And then you wonder, Hannah Rose left the game week 1, right? She quit. And you wonder, like, Hannah Rose is quitting in week 1 versus Bhanu tanking everyone's game, not having strategy, and leaving in week 4. Which one do you think is really kind of a worse outcome as a Survivor fan? I'm at the point where I don't know if Hannah Rose leaving week 1 is any worse than Bhanu leaving week 4 while tanking other people's games. Because the biggest overarching argument I can make for Hannah Rose, she knew herself that she wasn't going to be happy moving forward. And 2, she is the reason why Emily Flippin ended up lasting so long in the game. If Hannah Rose didn't quit, it seemed very certain that Emily was going to be gone week 1. And we, as fans, wouldn't have gotten the wonderful personality that is Emily. Whereas Bhanu sticking around as long as he did, he may have potentially tanked the games of some people that I find to be really, really interesting, and Q, Tiffany, and Kenzie. Now, I will say, I think the Yanu 3, now at this point, I have to lovingly call them that, I think they're pretty safe for a long time. Because we're going to talk about Siga and Nami, but I don't think that they're going to be in too much trouble as long as they can win like one immunity challenge or the Mergatory comes soon. Because inevitably, it's like Jurassic Park. Siga and Nami are going to look at each other, just like so many other seasons of the new era, like 44, for example, the Tika 3. We'll say at this point, it'll be like the Indominus Rex in Jurassic World seeing the T-Rex, and there's a bunch of humans like scurrying on the ground. But instead of them going after the humans, they're like, hey, we're both dinosaurs, let's go after the humans. No, one predator goes for the other predator. And that's what's going to happen here with Siga and Nami, in my opinion. I think instead of trying to take out Yanu, instead they're going to go for each other and probably even try to use Yanu in order to do it. Just like with Ratu and Soka during Survivor 44, they used Tika. And Tika just kind of outplayed them all. And then there's a few other seasons where this really went down too, but that's just what I see happening this go around and why I think Yanu may be safe in the end. And I mean, Tiffany was my winner pick, and I'm feeling really good about Tiffany or Kenzie right now, even though Bhanu tried his best to tank their games. But let's take a second and let's talk about the other tribes, right? Because we have Nami and we have Siga. Nami, right now, there wasn't a lot that was going on in the episode necessarily. I mean, really the biggest thing with Nami was, everyone's pretty kumbaya because they haven't really had to play the game too much. And over there, Tevin is starting to realize that Soda, one of his closest allies, along with Hunter, is really starting to play super, super hard. He's noticing her going around, being buddy-buddy with everyone. Venus, Liz, Tevin, Hunter, everyone. And he's noticing all right, so if 10 is perfect, it's up at a 12, right? And we want to be able to like wring that back a little bit because it's probably too much, honestly. And Tevin is a guy with an extra vote. It seems like he is the head honcho, which, by the way, they beautifully deployed a great background for Tevin and his dad while he was cleaning fish that they won during the reward. I thought that was awesome. But it's also, again, good to jolt him back into the game and say, I think Soda's doing too much to the point where maybe she's becoming a little bit of a threat. And Hunter, as we saw, is even on board with this as well. Because Hunter realizes that he and Soda are kind of vying for Tevin's friendship in the game. And if Soda goes, that means he gets him all to himself, essentially. And that's pretty similar to like last season when, you know, Austin and Drew had their own relationship and Dee was pretty cool with letting Drew go. And just like how Austin and Drew wanted Mama J to go so that Dee had nowhere to go but with them. So it makes a lot of sense. It's a great strategy. Great strategy. But the thing is, Nami keeps winning. So even though Tevin got all of them included into the plan to possibly blindside Soda, it didn't really matter. They won. They won again. They get to continue to be the fun Kumbaya tribe. I mean, it seems like as long as Hunter is in the hero spot for these challenges, they're going to end up winning. And it's kind of amazing. I mean, I think he's done really well at that. Another comparison, I think last season, Austin carried the Reba tribe for the most part. And Dee mentioned it during her final tribal. She's like, yeah, luck is a part of the game. And quite frankly, if I wasn't on the Reba tribe, I'm not sure I'd be here right now. And winning solves a lot of problems. So we're probably not going to see anything from Nami for a little bit, but thankfully, the seeds are kind of there. Randon had the Beware advantage. It should be in the game somewhere back at their beach. Hopefully one of them ends up acquiring the idol at this point, but we don't exactly know how it's going to shake out in the end. But speaking of Beware advantages and how it shook out, we had the Siga tribe, and the biggest thing that was really a part of the episode, other than Maria having kind of her background moment where she talks about needing to thrive, and she usually succeeds, but that challenge, the reward challenge, she didn't have it that day, and the rest of her tribe really gathering around her. The biggest thing was Jem found the Beware advantage last week, but this week she decided to plant it in a fake spot and said, hey, let's all go look for it together. And then they did find it, and I was confused for a second because I was looking at my phone. I didn't realize that they were doing a fake Beware advantage hunt because I was pretty sure Jem had found it, but I was like, wait, did I just forget everything that occurred this past week? Anyway, that's what they did, and Maria pops it open, says, I gotta take a risk, but of course we know as the audience it belongs to Jem. It's all fake. And they start digging underneath to find it as a tribe. Tim's digging real hard. Ben's digging real hard. And nothing is found while Jem is sitting there, like, all mysteriously with her mustache. It was brilliant. I thought it was really good on her part. I thought she showed her game chops. The only thing is, I think it would have been good if they had hidden something in the dirt for them to find, then like the mystery would be over. But now she's put herself in this position where she's talking to Mariah and saying, I think Tim did it. And that's in the previews for the next week where Tim confronts her about it. So it's going to be very important how she handles that confrontation, because I think Tim will be good at it. Even though we don't know a lot about Tim in general, the guy is basically on a milk carton at this point. But that is something I think he would be good at. So it's going to be important for Jem's game to be able to manage that. Probably the only other things that really occurred in the episode was they got the note for the immunity challenge. And in that note, they talked about jumping off stuff. Mariah apparently says she doesn't know how to jump. I didn't know humans didn't know how to jump when they have like fully like capable like legs and feet and like blood and stuff like that. I figured you'd be able to get some serious height, but she was saying like I could only get like 2.5, 3 inches off the ground. And there was a fun kind of montage that really kind of showed them teaching her how to jump. And it was fun because in a way it was very old school. There's so many people on the internet that go like, ugh, don't give me all these game bots. I don't want game bots in my Survivor anymore. Just all of them, just a bunch of Spencer Bledsoes. And then when you do a segment like this where they're not really doing anything strategic, instead they're just showing her how to jump, which is silly, but old school Survivor was silly. And they would say to themselves, what does this have to do with the game? This isn't strategic at all. Give me some game talk. And it's like, well, you can't win, right? So this is one of those times where I think producers, sadly, are not going to win with a lot of fans. Even though I think it was fine. It was a good inclusion. I'm shocked she couldn't jump, but it was a fine inclusion. But interesting on the jump note, as we're talking about Siga, another like kind of a fun mini like little controversy among Survivor fans on like Twitter and Reddit and stuff is during the challenge, Charlie jumped off the platform and yelled Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift! like he was the kid from Neverending Story on the back of Falcor. And it was interesting. I actually didn't even notice it while we were watching, but that's mainly because there were times I was on my phone while I was watching the episode. I was like, oh, it'll be a standard jump. He's definitely not going to yell the name of Taylor Swift. But that's what happened. I like, for the most part, I don't really care. But I will say, in a culmination, and I actually talked to Charlie about this online on Twitter, in the culmination of his entire edit from episode 1 to now, Taylor Swift's been referenced like 6, 7, 8 times by the guy. And I think it's the edit, to be clear. I don't think his life revolves around Taylor Swift, although he does definitely love Taylor Swift. I don't think his life revolves around it, but it has been mentioned a ton of times to the point where I, not a Swiftie, don't find it very, very cute or fun. It feels like an inside joke and I'm just watching it. And I don't love that. Right? Like even Ben, the rocker guy, he's definitely the rocker guy, but one, he's a musician, right? And two, he doesn't really talk about one band or one guy all the time. So through the edit, I'm sure Charlie spent about approximately 0.01% of the time talking about Taylor Swift while he was out there. On TV, I will not track down the percentage, but it seems like it's a lot compared to everyone else in the history of the game talking about any musician or any singular popular figure. And I think it's intentional by probably the producers because Taylor Swift is everywhere in this world. And in this episode, I was just like, oh, again, because I think when he was idol hunting, he said, I'm going to sing a Taylor Swift song to the idol. I forget the name of the song, but I'm pretty sure that was another Taylor Swift reference. It's just that they're all over the place. Again, it doesn't ruin my experience. It's whatever. It's just I would rather it not be there. And hopefully, this is only a product of Siga constantly winning challenges because I would like them to continue to win. But frankly, when they don't, that means they can't be kumbaya and talk about this kind of stuff. Instead, they're forced to vote each other out and talk about really serious things. Like I love the Charlie and Maria conversation when they talked about, being the Denise and Malcolm. I thought that was great. Other than that, couldn't tell you what the strategy has been going on for 3 episodes. I have no idea. Siga, we got Jem and the idol, and that's it. Like, that's really it. But I'm hoping for a lot more moving forward in the game. And to kind of round it out, as we know at the end of the episode, Bhanu is voted out of the game. That is after many painstaking hours of people trying to comfort him, particularly Kenzie. Again, Kenzie looks like she did a really good job of trying to be empathetic to his situation and really trying to make him feel better. And there was whole segments where they were teaching Bhanu to shut his mouth, basically, and how to play the game. And I've never seen it where they had to teach people how to play the game, like so over the top. Like collectively, there are 4 people on the tribe. 3 of them are trying to teach the one how to play the game, knowing they're going to vote him out. Really amazing. And there was actually kind of a voting controversy because they did not make the Yanu tribe vote. And traditionally, even for the formality of it, you have to vote. It was interesting. Now, it sounds like behind the scenes, I think Q mentioned this on Twitter. It sounds like behind the scenes, Probst asked everyone at Tribal, do you want to vote? And they said, no, we don't. We don't need to vote. And then it was just like a formality at this point to vote, so they just didn't even bother with it, and Bhanu was sent home. If everyone knows Bhanu is going to go home, and Probst makes you vote anyway, and everyone's confident, like, if you're a player out there, you have to go, like, why? It's obvious. Because I think it's possible. I think there's times where producers, like, ask players, like, hey, who do you think you're voting for tonight? But maybe in that scenario, maybe, like, Tiffany and Q say, like, we're not voting for Bhanu. We're going to flip it on Kenzie. And if they had made them all vote, maybe Kenzie should have been like, I don't know, this feels weird. By Jeff giving the opportunity to not vote, it is creating like a weird precedent in my mind where it could mess with the gameplay part of it. Potentially. That's just me. I mean, they could have edited out the vote for all we know, but from what I understand, that is not the case. They did not vote at all. But poor Bhanu, I mean, he's a wonderful guy. It just didn't work out. He played with some sharks, but he also played with some folks that were probably beatable. He himself was not meant to truly be a player in the game, I think. And he did have an old school feel to him as a personality, though. I had no doubt CBS was going to love this guy as soon as I saw some of his more abnormal behavior and how he reacts to things, because he's a very expressive, emotional person. Kind of like Carolyn from 44. I think she's kind of the poster child of that. But when it came to gameplay, there wasn't too much of a comparison there. Sadly, And I can only hope that right now he's getting as much love as he can. And to wrap this up, if you watched the Survivor Super Fun Time show, you'll know that Mike Gabler, the winner of Survivor 43, does his Hiding in Plain Sight award each week, and he's got a good one for you today. So take a look at who he thinks is a Hiding in Plain Sight winner for this past episode.
Hiding in plain sight!
What was that episode? Wow, that was amazing. Bhanu, see you, buddy. I gotta say, everybody was pretty much hiding in plain sight except for Bhanu this week. So, but my actual hiding in plain sight pick is gonna be Jim. The way she got that clue and then hit it and kind of threw everybody off her tracks could be a pretty epic move by her. She's surfacing, coming up a bit, and is showing she's got some chops when it comes to the game of Survivor. So, see you later, Bhanu. Hello, Jim. That's the pick of the week for Hiding in Plain Sight. Take care.
Hiding in plain sight!
Yes, I 100% agree. Siga, again, they don't really have a lot they can actually do at this point because they're not going to tribal. But Jem is clearly the choice. When she had them digging through that base of the tree, brilliant. Also, by the way, random thing, I follow Karla from Survivor 43 also on Twitter, and she posted this screenshot. I died. She said, by the way, Siga, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you are digging in our coconut grove from the old Coco tribe because they share beaches in the new era. Each season, they swap them up. But basically, that's where the Coco tribe, they pooped there, essentially. So the Siga tribe was digging exactly where they used to put excrement. So it's pretty messed up. But the good thing is, it sounds like poop breaks down over a year and it's completely gone. So it didn't look like they were digging through actual feces. So it's a big dub for Siga, even though it was a little weird. But that's going to do it for the episode. Thank you so much for watching this recap. I know it was a little bit long, but Bhanu was a little bit of a character, so we had to talk a little bit about that and the outlook of Yanu moving forward. Remember, if you want to support the channel, please hit the subscribe button. It helps me incredibly grow this channel so we can have more fun people join for some fun, stimulating conversation about Survivor. And, of course, let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know any kind of video types you want in the future. I'd be happy to talk about that. Otherwise, hope you have an amazing day, everyone. Take care and keep it fun, everybody.